And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, welcome everyone to the Weighing In podcast. This is a special edition. Josh and I are very excited. We have a special guest for you, someone that's got a lot of information about the growth of mixed martial arts globally and some things that have happened recently. The one and only Chatri SITYODTONG. Well, we are privileged to have the man that has started, is the CEO, the founder, all the things that have brought Asian MMA back. The one and only Chatri SITYODTONG, the leader of One Championship. My man, how are you doing? You have to be ecstatic with what happened here on May 5th when you brought One Championship to North America, all the way back to Colorado. It was Bruceville, Colorado. You have to be ecstatic.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. I'm super happy to be here. Big John and Josh, big fans of both you guys. So thank you for having me. Yeah. Coming back to the States, I lived in the U.S. for, I think, 18, 19 years, maybe even, almost 20 years, maybe around there. So it was kind of surreal because I hadn't been back in also probably around 20 years. And to come back and to be able to throw an event and the reception that we received. I don't know if you guys watched on Amazon Prime, but
of course we watched it.
Thank you guys. But the energy was electric. I just could not believe. I thought, to be honest, like I chose a smaller venue. It's several thousand, I think 7,000 capacity. My team was telling me, hey, we got to do our normal 15,000 seater, and I just thought, hey, we're brand new in America. We're a nascent brand. No one knows us. Let's just come in quietly. And we sold out 7% of the tickets within 10 days of putting up the link. And then several weeks before the event, we're completely sold out. And the energy was insane because all the crowd knew all of our athletes. It was shocking. Actually, DJ, who's obviously an American superstar and the GOAT, he got less of an ovation than Ruktang, a Thai guy from Thailand who doesn't speak a word of English.
Yeah, but he's awesome.
It was crazy. I mean, I'm hugely indebted and I'm full of gratitude to the U.S. fans.
When you guys started talking about putting MMA, but then you guys started moving in with the kickboxing, started now doing the grappling, all into one show. What was the consensus behind that, and what was the talking conversation about bringing it all to one show?
So I think it was both from kind of listening to fans out here in Asia, but also my own personal development as a martial artist. And I've been doing martial arts my entire life, and I started up and I still train every day. 38 years of Muay Thai, and then about 16 years of Jiu-Jitsu. And what I saw was obviously the rise of MMA. We saw that, but I also saw that all these incredible martial arts, if done properly with a high kind of finishing mindset by the athletes and stylistically, I thought it could actually work very well. And in Asia, Asian fans just appreciate striking far more than they do grappling as an art form across the continent. You look at Taekwondo in Korea, Karate in Japan, Kung Fu in China, Muay Thai in Thailand, Silat in Indonesia, Malaysia. So the familiarity of stand-up just made a lot more sense in terms of showcasing that across the continent of Asia. Because we started off, as a Asia-based, Asia-only property, and it's only been the last, I'd say, 5 years in which we truly have expanded our global footprint, and now we're live in prime time on Friday, every Friday to 179 countries around the world with events. And so that, is just a natural, I guess, progression. But also, we're just thinking about what makes One Champion completely different from the other organizations is that we're truly the home of martial arts. Asia has a 5,000 year history of being, the birthplace of martial arts. And I thought, how do we best showcase that? And as we added more arts and the platform truly became about martial arts. So we've done, Muay Thai boxing, we've done, Western boxing, we've done Jiu-Jitsu, we've done Lethwei, which is Burmese.
I was going to say, you did Lethwei. Are you ever going to bring it back?
It's a case-by-case basis. I think Lethwei just doesn't work well on TV because of the headbutts. It just, it goes back to John, I still have, memories of you,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Of UFC 1 and, some crazy stuff, man. Like you're part of history like that. And I actually watched 1993. I watched the very first few UFCs live, not in the stadium, but I was one of the early guys who bought pay-per-view because it appealed to the martial arts community, right? So
Yep.
Yeah.
$14.95. It was big bucks back then.
Wow.
Think
They were
about
paying
that.
for Big John's arms. One of those
yeah,
big
man.
things at the time.
When Josh is talking about all the things that make one a little bit different than everybody else, and the fact that you do have the grappling, the submission grappling, I'm going to go to your event that you just had, One Championship 10, that was in Colorado. You had 2 grappling matches there, and all the competitors are fantastic that you had, but there was a distinct difference between this. And I know that you're, like you said, you're a brown belt under Renzo Gracie, right? 16 years in jiu-jitsu and a lifetime Muay Thai. You actually, how many professional matches did you have in Muay Thai?
About 30.
Wow. Okay. And so in watching those 2 distinct matches, I mean, Mikey was so entertaining and showed exactly what grappling can be as far as a guy going. I don't know how many catches that, Shaolin called, but it had to be close to 10 catches, and his opponent kept getting through those, fighting his way. That was how exciting we all know that grappling can be. Now, I'm going to go to I thought it was a great matchup, and you had Ty going against De Ridder, and I was looking at that going, man, this is going to be interesting. But De Ridder in that, and I don't blame him, but he tried to stall it down as far as not allowing the takedown until he could get to the top position possibly. When you have those 2 types of grappling situations, is there anything that you look at that you could change to make it to where they all end up like the one Mikey had?
Yeah, no, so I agree 1,000% with you, John. Ty versus De Ridder really flopped. It was not what I thought it would be. It's not what Leo Vieira, who's
I thought it would be great.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be great. But the reality is, Ty is a very, the Rule Total brothers, both Ty and Kate are very, very aggressive, high cardio, high pace finishers. So, I know in the back of my mind, even though De Ridder said in the Fight Week press conference that he's going to come out and go for the sub, in the back of my mind, I thought, when you go up against a Ty or Cade, the natural instinct is, okay, I want to finish. But you also, if you take too much risk, you risk getting caught because they're so fast. And the other thing too is if you aren't super defensive minded, their cardio goes forever. So you can't. Ty and Cade can go 100%, 100 miles an hour for 10 minutes straight. The Ridder probably can do that for 5 minutes. Most grapplers can do it for 5 minutes. It takes a very rare guy to go 100 miles an hour, 1,000 miles an hour for a full 10 minutes, and Ty and Cade have that natural ability. So, I was a little disappointed. I mean, I think Ty did everything right. He was trying to initiate the action.
Absolutely.
I think De Ridder was kind of in the anti-jiu-jitsu mode of like, let me just buy some time and wear the guy out. If I start attacking too, then my cardio is going to drop, and he has better cardio than me probably. That was probably what was going on in De Ridder's mind. I don't know. I didn't talk to either of them actually after the match, but that's what I surmised.
Ty and Cade are 2 of the nicest young men I've ever met and been around. I've known them since they were about 10 years old. They're folks as well, both of them. Definitely really good kids to work with. They've got a huge future, a bright future ahead of them. What was it? How did that all come about with you signing these 2 young guys? Because they're phenomenal. They're just great people.
Yeah. So, one thing that, I travel all over the world for work, and, and I train every city I go to, whether it's jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai. And when we launched our Muay Thai product several years ago, what has been very noticeable is our direct impact on the student base. I mean, everywhere I go, the Muay Thai gym owners will tell me that their business is up 300, 500% in the last few years because of one, right? The popularity of one. And, we have such a high finish rate in one. And I don't think American fans realize we have a 70% finish rate in one versus, let's say, a UFC at 35 or 40% and Bellator as well. And that's not to say what's better or worse. It's just that we are very fan friendly in that regard. And Muay Thai, our rule set of 3 rounds, 3 minutes apiece, versus the traditional Muay Thai is 5 rounds, 3 minutes apiece. And also because our bonus system really rewards a KO, that we just had these explosive knockouts, and it just blew up numbers on YouTube and Facebook, organic video views and whatnot. And so we just had that kind of same mindset of like, how do we create a product from scratch with grappling that has an extremely high finish rate that's very, very exciting. And we scoured the globe, and obviously I hired Leo Vera to help me. And obviously Ruotolo Brothers and Mikey are arguably the pound for pound greatest technicians on the ground who always finish, right? Who strive for finishes. And that's, in large part why they're the face. But then if you take a look at the female division, well, Danielle Kelly's a finisher. You look at Bia Basilico, she's also a finisher. Basilio, so it's just, we have there's a particular style of submission grappler that we're looking for. We're not looking for the folks who won by advantage or who gamed the system. We're looking for people who love going after submissions and who take risk and very aggressive, because that's what makes for a fun fight. And exactly what you said, John, I think Mikey must have had 12, 15 catches in 3.
It's crazy.
And Osama is the current no-gi world champion, and you could just see Mikey was 2 steps ahead of Osama, 2 to 3 steps. Osama,
Absolutely.
all he could do was just defend, and once he defended one, the next one he could never catch a beat.
Yeah, I was coached by Leo for years, and
really?
was part of team. Yeah, I was part of Team Checkmat for years during my stint, the second stint of the UFC. So towards the end of Strikeforce, he came and was training with us when we were in Strikeforce, and then he was my main training partner going into the Benson Henderson fight.
Wow.
And,
Leo is a really close buddy, and I just love him to death. Super good guy, and obviously just unbelievable jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And I got to be honest, I watched, because I trained with his other brother, Leandro, and Leandro was the coach at AKA. But then Leo came up and was kind of looking to open facilities there in Silicon Valley area. And he was also getting ready for ADCs. It was like his return after not competing for years. And so we were just getting after it. But man, he is just the things that he can do in such a small framed body, and watching him go with certain guys, whether it be Lucas, whether it be Lucas Leite or or Buchecha, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
He'll get after it, and he'll do everything. He's a phenomenal person. I love him to death.
Yes.
And he's a fantastic coach. Yeah. He breaks it down so easy for people to understand.
Yeah, and I'm kind of lucky. Every fight week I get to train with him. It's just it's like I'm in heaven. He's obviously a good buddy, but the fact that I have access to Leo and it's just amazing. And last in Denver, it was in the room training every day was in our gis was Leo, Buchecha, Roger Gracie, and Shaolin. And then little old me. So you have to imagine these are like 4 killer world championship black belts, all like multiple-time world champions. And I'm just like a simple brown belt. I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, and so we had all these roles. And I tell you, Roger does not take it easy. He does not, whether you're a white belt or a black belt, his mindset is a champion's mindset. He's gonna crush you. He doesn't care how you feel, nothing. He didn't care. It's like, that's what I love about Roger. Roger's like, Josh,
it's not about your feelings.
No. Yeah, but obviously, you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, I'm going to put it on you. So obviously, he's not doing Roger Gracie times 1,000, but he's doing everything. He's making no mistakes, and he's crushing me like a bug. Yeah. But obviously, it's a great lesson for me. But the point is that, I mean, the fact that you also train very closely with Leo, he's a genius too.
Absolutely.
To pick apart the game and know exactly, how to adapt and evolve and game planning and all. He's amazing.
Yeah, you don't train that many top level black belts to become multiple time world champions and not have a sense of exactly what's going on and be brilliant in that department. Yeah. He is just, and he's also a very fantastic person.
Unbelievable, amazing.
Being coached by him was one of the greatest experiences of my career in terms of not just jiu-jitsu but fighting. Moving on, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of the Leo thing and the Buchecha thing and. What is your relationship? Because even when I was working with you guys as a commentary back in the day, I wanted to know what's the relationship between Evolve and One? And because I've noticed that Michelle Nicolini was there helping to coach. I know Misha was there for a little bit, but Leo is there now. And I know you guys have always had a good relationship with bringing jiu-jitsu people into Evolve to help, I guess, get them connected with One.
So I own Evolve and that's how my whole martial arts journey on the business side of things started, right? I started Evolve before I started One. And today it's completely separate management teams. Well, actually, as of 7, 8 years ago, it's completely separate management teams. And I spent all of my time at One. And there's a management team that runs Evolve separately, and it's a chain of martial arts schools that has the most number of world champions across all the different disciplines: Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, et cetera, et cetera. And Mikey is training out there, lives in Singapore the last year or so. The point is that for a fighter, if you have access, I think we have like 70, 80 instructors that Evolve, from all the different disciplines, and they're all world champions, whether it's a WBA boxing world champion, a multiple time jiu-jitsu world champion like Mikey, Muay Thai world champion like Ngannou, etc. They all, at one point used to work there as instructors, or still do work as instructors. And obviously that's great for the average person wanting to learn martial arts. But if you're a fighter, and Michelle Nicolini came here for, I think, 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, and she was teaching Muay Thai, but also, teaching Jiu-Jitsu and learning Muay Thai, upgrading her MMA skills, etc. And then she fought a few fights and won. So I mean, I think it's a widely known fact in here in Asia, at least, that I own both companies, or I started both companies, founder of both companies, and I own them. Yeah.
Got it.
My question for you is, it's kind of a little bit complex, because One is in that position right now where in Asia, you've been doing great. You've just come to North America. You had a fantastic show. Yes, you can sit there. I agree with you when you talk about the size of the arena. I would have done the same thing, because you want to have a sold out arena compared to something that's got empty seats. I think you would have sold those seats too, but having that small arena, that's the right way to do it. You were smart in doing it that way. But now, where do you go? I know you can always go back to Colorado. The commission there allowed you. Are you going to try to expand the One's brand and the global rule set here in North America? You're going to have to kind of go through the ABC and try to get them to change their mind about certain things, because Josh and I will both tell you, look, I've said for a long time, I was one of the ones that helped set up the unified rules. Some of them I love, some of them I hate, and it was a matter of you had to acquiesce to certain people that really didn't understand the martial arts.
Yeah.
But, I look at knees to the head of a grounded fighter. Look, it changes the fight. It makes it to where you can't be safe in certain positions. And we just saw a fight. We watched what you had as a product out of Colorado. We watched the UFC with Sterling against Cejudo. And in those, he was taking a position, being on all fours, where he could have been attacked if Cejudo was allowed to hit him with knees, but he's not. And so there was zero damage done out of all those positions, where with your rule set, he could have been attacked and possibly even finished.
So, the ethos of One, and again, I think this also is what makes us very different and unique from anything that exists out there. We're the world's largest martial arts organization by hosting all the different bouts of martial arts. But also the ethos is about the true meaning of martial arts, or the origins of why martial arts in the first place was created. It's to defend yourself. And it's to defend yourself in a self-defense situation. Someone's attacking you, coming to your house, robbing you, whatever it may be. You're not going to pitter-patter. Your job as a martial artist is to finish the fight, right? And if you can finish in 30 seconds, great. 10 seconds, great. If you can choke someone out safely, that's amazing. It's not to play tag and hide and seek. And what do I mean by that? And no disrespect to you, John. I know you're critical to the unified rule set, but what I don't like is that when you have a 10-point must system and you have guys who are phenomenal at wrestling, last 10 seconds, they shoot double leg takedown, hold you down, and they won the round. Let's say the round was pitter-patter even.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But okay. I know what you're saying.
You do 3 rounds of that and you win the fight. And that to me is not martial arts. That is a game. It's no different than, John, let's go into the cage and let's play, tag. It's the same thing. So, or it's the same thing as you said, if someone in a real fight, if they're in the turtle position or a 3-point, I don't know, the unified rule has a 3-point thing, and you're only allowed to punch them, while they're in the turtle position, like these weird punches, like, like almost like baby punches. I don't know what they're, and it looks like 2 kids fighting, versus, slamming a knee into the person, doing a 12-6 elbow. These are things that finish fights. And so you're not going to have such watered down martial arts, in my opinion. Again, I know I have a big fan of the unified rules. I do watch a lot of fights under unified rule system. But I was very lucky. I was out here in Asia. There's no sports property that's pan-Asia at the time. I looked at everything that UFC was doing right. I looked at everything that UFC was doing wrong. And I looked at the old days of Pride, everything they did right and wrong. And I said to myself, I'm going to, as a lifelong martial artist, create the ultimate martial arts organization that has a true ethos of martial arts. And again, that's why I do believe that's why we have a 70% finish rate. It's because we select the right athletes, like a Cade or a Tai or a Mikey Musumeci in grappling, or like a Rotang in Muay Thai, or like a DJ in MMA. And under the global rule set, it's far, like you said, even if I'm on top side control, the bottom guy can knee me in my face, right? So it's not a safe, even if you're top side control, you're not in a safe position. Versus unified rules, you're in a safe position, you can stall. So the rules in our MMA product are very, very conducive to high finish rates. And also our athletes. I mean, our athletes are phenomenal, world-class, world championship athletes, and so who have killer instincts.
Well, let me
go ahead, John.
I'm going to ask one thing real quick off of it. You started off, and Matt Hume has been a big part of one, and came from Pride. And you really started off kind of with the Pride rules, but you've changed those because you did allow at a certain point what we call soccer kicks to the head, and then you had different equations as far as the rule set with it, and then finally it was you banned those all together. Yeah. Who is it, and what have you done that is you, as you have been growing? Who's been looking at these different types of things and making those alterations to where you're happy with the global rule set?
So obviously we work with, country by country with the governments and the sanctioning bodies and all that stuff. And of course, we're very fortunate in that, because when you're a pioneer, you're able to then, better the system. And it's the same way UFC, went state to state in America to convince all the different athletic commissions. We also went around and tried to develop the very best, obviously safety number one. And the irony about safety, right, is people think, boxing is safe because the gloves are big and it's 12 rounds. Yeah. Actually, people die from boxing because of the repeated blows. You get hit 100, 200 times in 12 rounds. And the 11th, 12th round is when you die because your brain is so concussed and you somehow tear your brainstem or actually hemorrhage, right? It's never the one punch KO. With these 4-ounce gloves, you go boom, one shot, the guy's out. It's like a choke. Your brain is telling you stop. So you stop taking damage. So actually a high finish rate is actually safer for an athlete. You don't want an athlete taking 50 shots to the head. You want an athlete ideally taking one shot and is either dazed to the point of TKO or out with a KO.
To piggyback on what John's original question was where do you go from here? Colorado is you're allowed to use your rule set, but where do you go outside of that now into other states? And have any other states expressed interest in, hey, we can make these adjustments?
Yeah. So we are, we have been rather in discussions with multiple states, and it does look very promising because it was a very successful event in Colorado. But we show them the empirical data. We've been around for 11 years and thousands of fights. And we show the finish rates, we show the injury rates, we show, minor injuries to severe injuries. And we're just very, very fortunate. We haven't had any severe injuries in 11 years and 11 years plus that we've been in operations. So, I think it's just going to take time, but it will eventually roll out all over the US. I truly believe it. There's no combat sports has become the hottest segment in all of sports globally, and any state, it behooves a state to drive tourism and to drive excitement and to drive relevance, cultural relevance, right? To adopt new innovative, as long as safety is a top priority, which it is at one. Matt Hume is arguably the most experienced. I mean, if you go to YouTube and you Google Matt Hume, he was fighting in late 80s, and he was using all moves that were today, with heel hooks and the Muay Thai clinch, and he was so far. He was literally 20, 30 years ahead of the game. People back then were still so very rudimentary in their skill set. So he's been really the visionary, the thought leader on the rule set, and obviously again working with country by country, all the governments and the martial arts community, and trying to create a better and better product. And again, we're very fortunate that we have that flexibility as Asia's largest sports media property, and obviously, as I said, the world's largest martial arts organization. We've been able to pull in all the different communities onto a single platform, and that's been very, very helpful.
Can you give me a list of a couple of states that you've kind of had conversations with about potentially going there next, or not next, but within the next?
Yeah. So I'd rather not. I'd rather not, because until things are.
I was going to say, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. I've learned the hard way many times. If I talk too soon, I end up creating more chaos, that's unnecessary chaos. So I'd rather my team just work on it. So Rich Franklin and Matt Hume and a whole team is working on it state by state. Many, many discussions going on. I can tell you several states are, I guess, at that line of approving the global rule set. So yeah, it's very exciting times. This is definitely going to be the Denver event. When people look at it, will mark the very beginning of a full-scale expansion in the U.S. market by one.
Now, talking about Colorado and your guys' last event, how did you guys work around your weight cutting for the U.S. shows, given that there's the weight classes were 125, 135? How did you guys work around that? Nothing
changed with how we do fights that we've been doing for the last 11 and a half years on ground here, whether it was in the States as well. The Athletic Commission approved our entire hydration weight system, obviously approved the global rule set, approved everything, our medical procedures, etc. And again, as a pioneer, we're very fortunate. What I did was I told our in-house doctors, I want you to go all over the world to the top sports organizations and give me their safety process, their medical process, whether it's NBA, F1, UFC, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, make it better, make it safer. I don't care what it costs. Let's just make sure we have the very, very best system. And, whether it's fight week CAT scans, neurological exams, blood tests, all sorts of crazy tests, balance tests during fight week. We do a battery of tests on our athletes to make sure that they're ready to go fight day. And again, when you cut, 15, 20 pounds of water weight and rehydrate yourself, it's just not good for your body, A. B, your body doesn't necessarily rehydrate in equal proportion across your body, meaning that you may drink all the water, but, some of it might go to your legs and then the rest gets flushed out because you peed and didn't go to your brain and fill out the cells. It's not like it's a uniform process of hydration, especially in a short 24-hour period when you sucked out 15, 20 pounds of water. And so that's why you get these weird knockouts sometimes if you see, a jab and the guy gets knocked out. And you're like, what happened? Well, the guy cut weight, lots of water weight, rehydrated, but his brain wasn't hydrated. And so just a jab, right? Because the brain is knocked against the skull instead of being encased in fluid, in water as a shock absorber. And that's why you get these weird occasional knockouts where the guy has a great chin and you're like, he got a jab and he basically got knocked out. This is typically usually a hydration issue. So yeah, we were able to do everything. And that's our plan. Every country we go to, we keep the exact same standard of excellence in everything we do, medical and safety, et cetera, and just get the right buy-in and partnership structure. In this case, it was the Colorado State Athletic Commission, and they're innovators, and obviously they brought UFC. I mean, they were the ones that obviously allowed UFC in 1993. And it was just kind of like coming.
No, they didn't.
For us. Yeah,
they didn't allow anything. They didn't have a commission back then, but it's okay. No, it's not your fault.
Yeah, but we also chose Colorado for that reason as well. There was a significant. Colorado is the birthplace of American mixed martial arts. In 1993, it literally started off a revolution in the U.S. Although mixed martial arts started in early 80s in Japan with Shuto, in America, it was the birthplace in 1993 in Colorado. So we thought that was significant about, hey, we're coming to Asia, let's pay respect to the birthplace of American mixed martial arts, and it all kind of worked out.
When you guys, you're saying, hey, with the Colorado State Athletic Commission, they handled everything professionally, did everything that you guys were asking to make sure that your promotion could stay intact and how the rule sets were, your hydration setups. What do you guys do when you are not in a commission based, like in Colorado, when you guys are traveling, say Manila? I've traveled with you guys to Manila, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, everywhere. What do you guys do in terms of drug testing?
Yeah, so again, it depends. Like in a country like Philippines, actually, mandatory drug testing, very, very strict. And obviously the GAB is called the GAB. I don't know. I think it's called. I forget what it stands for. But the GAB, it is basically the athletic commission for the entire country. Mm-hmm. They have very stringent rules, and they will be overseeing our process in partnership. So that's one in which there is strong oversight. Then you go to a country like Thailand, where we work with the Muay Thai bodies or the Sports Authority of Thailand. Mm-hmm. So it's a country by country basis. In a country like Singapore, we were the innovators. Like there was no martial arts scene before one, and so we were basically, as this global rule set was developed by Matt and input from a lot of experts around the world, it's really then implementing the exact same system. Doesn't matter which country you're in, and if it's a very strong government like the Philippines with a strong athletic commission, then it's about partnering with them and working with them, but not changing the system or the process at all. It's really keeping everything the same. And again, when we came to the U.S., we began planning our U.S. entry, I think 4 years ago. So it's taken many meetings, many years of meeting with the state athletic commissions and showing them the data and working with them until we got the green light. So it's the same thing for every country.
But when you go to, like, say, because I worked your guys' first show you guys did in Beijing, and who does the drug testing at, say, events like that? And then also like Manila does, you said the GAP or GAD or whatever it is. Like who does the drug testing when it's not in the States and run by like a state commission?
Right. So our random drug testing, and Matt Hume is a better person to speak to this, is run by a WADA certified lab out of Taiwan, from my understanding, and it's randomized drug testing. So that's, I think, the best I can give you. He's much more, he's into the details of that. I'm not as much into the details, but we do randomized drug testing every event, and it's run by a WADA certified lab.
Because John will speak on it too, because like Bellator has the same issues when they travel internationally. I'm sure the UFC does as well. They take their own people to help make sure that there's testing done properly by.
So it's no different than UFC or Bellator. Yep. The three organizations, the three global organizations, we are traveling circuits, right? When Bellator went to France, I'm sure they had to do a lot of the stuff themselves. But again, they have systems and processes and people that are already doing it. And we just, again, try to standardize it everywhere we go so that there's no, we allow soccer kicks in this country, but not that country. No. So that's why it was very important for us when we came to the U.S. It was like, hey, everything we do out here in Asia, it's exactly the same. And it has to be. If you think about it, if you're going to be a truly global brand, a Big Mac tastes the same, doesn't matter where you are in the world. McDonald's has been able to perfect the Big Mac in the U.S. and then export it all over the world with systems, process, and people to make sure that the Big Mac tastes the same. That is our mindset as well. It's like we have to have the same product everywhere we go, and working with the local governments or the national governments. And if there are no governments in that case, then obviously then you have to, just like UFC or Bellator, have to make sure that your systems, process, and people are 100% the same way as you would do it in let's say the U.S.
Well, that's not true. I can get a Big Mac with an egg on it in Japan. That's awesome. But okay, so look, outside all the go ahead, John.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Outside of all the talk from your last fight, your last show, there was an interview that came out yesterday with Francis. And he had some things to say, and I just wanted to get your take. Did you get a chance to watch it on the MMA Hour?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I had saw obviously some headlines and stuff. What I say is I think there was our teams. Markel is his manager and Andrew is his attorney. Matt Hume and my team been working on this for the last 3-4 months. I personally haven't been involved as deeply, right? I mean, that's not my job. I run the company. Matt Hume runs athlete recruitment and matchmaking, etc. And there were definitely offers, a first offer, and then I think there was a second offer. Then it came to the point of Matt Hume working with Markel on a $20 million, and they went line item by line item and said, with this deal. And then Markel literally said to Matt Hume, this would put you in the front seat. Now, Markel and Andrew did say there's high urgency. A deal is going to close imminently. Now, I did hear that, Francis said we didn't talk numbers when we met. At the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a CEO. For anyone to say that I would not talk about an offer, I'm coming to meet you for 2 to 3 hours and not talk numbers. It just doesn't make any logical sense. I'm not saying that Francis is being untruthful. I think everyone has, you're sitting there at lunch, everyone has their own perspective of what would happen. But I can tell you, I think there might be a disconnect between, Francis and Markel and Andrew on real-time updates of what's going on, because the point of that meeting was to see if we could come to terms. And the point of the meeting was not just to sit there. But of course, being the entrepreneur I am, I'm going to try my best to explain why one is the best option for him and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, after we walked away, shook hands, and it was on good terms. But the next day I messaged Andrew and Markel, and they have all screenshots of it. And I said, hey guys, thank you so much for this whole process, because they've been working with us for 3-4 months. And I said, at this point we're going to withdraw. And, I think the big mistake is I probably shouldn't have gone and said that to the media, and then the media put a lot of different spin on things, and you kind of lose control of the discussion. And so that, in hindsight, I feel very bad about. But, Francis, I'd say a lot of stuff he said was truthful. I think a lot of stuff he admitted or inadvertently admitted. Maybe he wasn't aware that Markel and Andrew were in sync with Matt Hume and stuff on offers, because just like me, I'm relying on my team to work out details with his team. I'm not personally doing the negotiation or the offering to Markel or Andrew. I don't think anything untoward was done by anybody. I just think these things sometimes when they're out in the media, it just ends up snowballing into he said, she said, etc. But I can tell you in good faith that Matt Hume and Markel and Andrew worked together for the last 3-4 months trying to get something done. And then it came to a point where, like, Chatri, and I remember this message from Matt Hume saying, hey, this is a deal that Markel says we can get through, that will put us in the front seat. Okay, then Chatri, go meet Francis. And that was literally the conversation. But again, I have not seen what's Francis. I just saw headlines of him, saying something. We didn't even talk about numbers. We did talk about numbers. I pulled out Matt Hume's numbers, that he and Markel were talking about, the $20 million. So, but look, at the end of the day, Francis, we couldn't make it done. That's why we withdrew, and he got what he wanted in the end. So at the end of the day, I think no harm, no foul. He's in a happy place. He's in a good place. And, we couldn't get it done based on what we felt was a true win-win for us, right? Everything in life has to make sense. And I think for PFL, it made sense. And so kudos to PFL and kudos to Francis. Literally zero. Again, the mistake I made was just that talking to the media saying I'm going to go meet Francis was a big, I just, in hindsight, I kind of innocently just said that, and then it just blew up, and then it's he said, she said, and it is what it is.
Look, anything that comes out, sometimes you say something, the media's going to put it out the way they want, and that's unfortunate. But let me ask this one thing off of it then, because it was when I listened to Francis, and he said that he told you right away, look, I'm probably going to go to the PFL. That had to in some way make you go, well, if you know where you want to go, yes, you're in a position that you could possibly talk him out of it, but does that set the meeting off with almost like a shank on a golf shot or something?
So
It's almost bad.
This is where I tell you the disconnect, right? Like Markel and Andrew told Matt in writing, as well as verbally, that this is a meeting that Chatri has to present this, and you'll be in the front seat. This is what I was told by Matt, and Matt was saying this is from Markel. And again, I don't think anything untoward is happening. It wasn't until midway in our meeting with Francis, it wasn't until midway that he said, "Hey, I'm really leaning to PFL." But of course, that doesn't mean anything to me. Like meaning that my job is to make sure any athlete, like Roberto Soldic had offers from UFC and I think Bellator and whoever, and we were late to the game with Roberto. And I said, Roberto, give me a chance, come to Singapore, watch an event, and let's hang out. And
you need to thank me for that one too. You need to thank me for that signing of Soldic, because I swear to God, I was in Ireland with him, and he was talking about he's going to go. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Roberto, you're a prize fighter. You go to the place that's going to pay you the most money and give you the fights that you want. The most money. That's what you're doing." And then all of a sudden he signed with you. I went, "Way to go. Smart man." Yeah. Loved it.
So that one is an example. We were behind. John, whether someone's behind or ahead in the deal making doesn't matter, because he had two offers, right? What matters is, can you come to terms? So for me, I think it was a lot of media and misunderstandings and just honestly, like it's how many times have I been in a situation, whether it's a sponsorship advertising deal where we're behind or we're ahead and we end up losing the deal, or we're behind and we end up, like, again, Roberto's a great example. We're way behind. UFC had given an offer about a month before, and we're way behind. And I was able to convince him to come join and sign with one. So, again, but what will stop me though is if I feel like, hey man, there's certain terms in which I don't think we could make things work, right, on win-win terms. And so again, I do believe Francis chose the right organization, and I wish him well. In hindsight, I wish this hadn't played out in the media between me and Francis, but behind closed doors, from my understanding, Markel and Andrew and Matt are in good terms, and there's no ill will whatsoever. But I do think a lot can get lost in translation. So I think maybe it is possible that Francis was annoyed that this came out in the media. I have no idea, right? But I can tell you that his version, some of the things he said were, again, this is from the headlines I see. I'd have to go watch what he said in detail. But again, it's not worth my time. I mean, at the end of the day, he signed. I wasn't able to get it done, so it is what it is. But we did send an email or WhatsApp message to Markel and Andrew after the meeting. Hey, we can't. We are withdrawing from the process, of which we've been at it for 3-4 months. There is actually no drama, really. It is just when you let things play out between multiple parties in the media.
Yeah. When I look at his contract that he signed with the PFL, and I'm assuming it was very similar to kind of what you guys had offered, and yours being potentially a little bit more. He wanted guaranteed money for his opponents up to $2 million. I mean, as a promoter.
That's a great example. He did bring that up in our meeting. And again, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to go into he said, she said. He brought, and that's also what I said in my mind at the time. I said, wow, that we can't do that. We can't. Then suddenly we have no ability to control our event profitability or loss, right? It's very, very difficult when you're in a situation like that. So there are certain things that were not financial, right? Not fight purse related, but more like board and opponent pay and things like that. That in the end we couldn't feel comfortable doing. So again, it's neither here nor there. I'm sure Francis is going to do very well in life. He's a good guy. He's a good champion, as I've said publicly all the time, and I believe privately as well. It's just, yeah.
When a company like the UFC, or I know a company like Bellator and yourself, do you feel like it's a snowball effect when a fighter comes in and goes, hey, I want guaranteed money for my opponent, and I want to be on the board, and I want to be able to do this over here in this country. When they start making the calls, do you feel like that's opening the floodgates now for other fighters to go, hey, he got it, I'm demanding it, and then now you have to answer to the 250 or the 300 fighters you have on your roster?
No, I think for me, board seats and stuff like that, who's on my board right now are literally some of the smartest institutional investors in the world. I just didn't think it made a lot of sense. It would be like one of our investors saying, hey, I want to go fight for the world title, in one, with no martial arts background. It just doesn't make a lot of sense holistically, right? So that's, again, it's a personal preference thing. It's a rather ideology or philosophy that whatever position you are in the company, you should be able to add a value to the organization so that the collective organization can do well together. Is greater than the sum of its parts. So it wasn't so much about precedence. Because Josh, this game every athlete is very unique, meaning that what skills you bring to the table, what your background is, what your credentials are, which fan base you're going to pull, all these different things are very, very unique. And so every athlete has a unique setup, especially someone as big as Francis, right? When we signed Roberto, he did have a very unique setup because, he arguably is, the greatest pound for pound champion out of Europe. And at the time we signed him, he definitely was the hottest free agent in several years, that all the major organizations went after him hard. I don't. Do you look at my mind? What crossed my mind was, wow, like I don't think we can get a deal done. That was, and it's funny because what's funny. The day before I met Francis, I was in LA doing the Brendan Schaub show. His Fighter and the Kid show, and Brendan and I were talking before the show. He's like, hey, I heard you're meeting Francis, and we talked about it. I said, yeah, but I think it's very close. I think it's very far. And I explained why. I said, there's certain board seat issues, et cetera, that I just don't feel comfortable with. And Brendan and I talked about that particular issue. And so the day after I met Francis and said, hey, we're pulling out due to non-financial issues, Brendan messaged me. But yeah, that's a great example. Like it's certain things are going to be comfortable for certain organizations. So PFL was very comfortable with their partnership structure with Francis, and it's good for PFL. It's good
funny
for Francis.
The first thing that happened when that was signed, Josh and I were talking. I said, I want to be his first opponent. That's $2 million. I'll fight Francis right now for $2 million. Now the problem is, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve that kind of money because I don't bring that. I'm not that opponent that is going to match up with him and give people the fight that they deserve. And you've got to have control over some of that.
When you look at, John, like you were just talking about, and Chatri, remember when Conor used to say, hey, after he had done he'd beat Jose Aldo and he was fighting Floyd Mayweather, he started talking about he's going to own part of the UFC. I'm sorry, but it never happened.
Yeah, but Chatri's the guy that said he would not have Conor McGregor in his organization because he doesn't follow what he believes is the martial arts way. I like that.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Now you have someone like Francis, though, who is coming along, and then they parted ways with the UFC, and then he's going and doing very similar to what Conor was doing. But then if you take name value as a promoter yourself, whether it's Bellator, whether it's UFC, you start weighing, like John and I talked about on our midweek show, you weigh, what does this person bring in?
The value.
And what other fighters can I have him fight that will help bring value to my promotion. And having somebody on a board.
I think fundamentally, at least for one, our philosophy is win-win. Everybody has to win. The athlete has to win. The promotion has to win, right? It has to be. It can't be lopsided where the promotion is making money and the athlete's not. And it can't be the other way around where the athlete's taking everything and the promotion gets nothing. That's why that they have to be working together. And people can argue this promotion is too powerful, that promotion is not, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, here at One, we do generally try to craft win-win situations with everybody we work with, whether it's our vendors, our athletes, our team, our broadcast partners, whoever it is. That's just mentally like, in order to create a successful company, I truly believe you have to do right by others. Just always making sure that every part that's seated at the table has to get a piece of the pie, a fair piece of the pie. But again, everyone has a different assumption. Like maybe PFL is assuming they're going to get 1 million buys with Francis and whoever, and therefore the economics work. When we try to put the economics, to work on the opponents, that's when again, and the board stuff, but he got those with PFL. So that's what I'm saying. Like, both of them are happy. PFL and Francis are happy. So there's nothing for me to say or not say it. Or feel bad about it. I mean, we tried, but we withdrew from the process. We after that meeting, I withdrew, and yeah.
John, anything else on the Francis?
Yeah. No, not on Francis. Gone. Here's my question: is a lot of people are going to sit there and look at financials and everything, and you've had financials that have come out that I think it was in 2022 or something. Yeah, it shows that you're at a deficit, but it's what your company's worth, and it's also been that your company has been appraised at over $1 billion for One FC. With that type of situation, okay.
Bay Area. Yeah, so Josh, who lives in the Bay Area, for sure has friends who knows about Sequoia Capital. It's literally probably the most respected and most respected venture capital firm in the world, with a 50-year track record of investing in the likes of Amazon, Google, Facebook. I mean, Oracle, Yahoo from the very, very day one, right? We're Sequoia Capital's very first investment in sports. And we're valued at 1.4 billion, although it's going to be a little higher. I can't talk to what's happening right now, but it's going to be a little higher than that. But the point is that very sophisticated, smart investors pour over all of our data, all of our financials, and understand the vision of what we're building. Now, I'll give you a great analogy, okay? If you're going to build, let's say, the world's largest Disney World, and it's going to be 10 times bigger than the current Disney World, and let's say it's going to take you 7 years to build this thing. You're going to build this mega, unbelievable number of roller coasters, unbelievable number of hotels.
And you're going to be way in the hole.
And every year, that 7 years, when you're building it, when you look at that snapshot, year 5, you are losing a ton of money, but you're building something, right?
Yep.
Year 7, finally, when this Disney World is built, and then you open the gates, then you'll make money. There's no different than building a global sports property. You have to invest in the platform, the brand, the roster. You have to invest in the marketing machine. You have to build in. We have 10 offices around the world. You have to build all that infrastructure to be able to play the global game of sports.
And that was what the last part of my question is. In 5 years, where is it that you see One Championship at?
Well, in 5 years, 1,000% will be very, very profitable. We're inching our way to profitability as we speak. It took 10 years of building this platform, our brand, our roster, our scouts around the world, 10 offices around the world, all the stuff that we do, our production, everything. And you can see the monetization is really taking off at One right now. And I think, in 5 years, definitely the vision will be as a true global sports media property, one of the biggest in the world. Nielsen came out with this industry report. You can go to Nielsen.com on the top 20 largest sports properties by viewership, right? Across TV and social and digital, et cetera. And we were ranked anywhere from number 5 to number 10, depending on the metric. that was very surprising to us because we knew we were growing fast, but we didn't know how fast we were growing relative to other sports properties. And I think NBA was number 4, we're number 5, and something like that. And all those other properties, by the way, the two youngest properties were UFC and ONE on that list of 20. It was literally like EPL 100 years old, NFL 100 years old, NBA 70 years old, F1 70 years old. So, UFC is 30 years old. So it should have a head start on revenues and profitability. We're only 11 years old. So I can just say that our board of directors are happy. Our institutional investors are happy. My team and I are happy. We know what's up. I mean, what's most important is, fandom. Is our fan base growing? Is our fan base engaged? I think going to Denver was very eye-opening for me. I mean, I was genuinely shocked. My team was shocked as well that the energy in the stadium was electric, and they knew all of our athletes like as if they were in a hometown, as if they were like in Bangkok, right? It was pretty amazing. And this is again like it's a proof point that we can sell out in Denver, Colorado, while never having set foot in America. I mean, that's just kind of, think about that for a second. It's just pretty wild that we can sell out in Denver, Colorado, having never set foot in America as an organization, right? Like,
it's impressive. It was an impressive night.
What?
I said it was an impressive night overall. Very impressive overall. Everything that happened with that, the way it was presented, was great.
Yeah. Amazon was super happy. We hit new record high viewership. We were number 1 on Twitter, number 5 in the U.S. and number 1 globally. Number 1 in the U.S. on Twitter, and then number 5 globally. We were trending like it was the ratings. We hit a new record high, up 70% from our previous high on Amazon, and Amazon's super happy. Like it couldn't have gone any better, right? In terms of even the quality of fights were incredible. The finishes were incredible, and to think again that we're based out of Singapore. I mean, it's just wild to think that, man. That's like going to the States for those 2.5 weeks I was in the States for. It was like a trip. It was surreal, and I was so full of gratitude, but it was very surreal. I was like, I couldn't register. It's hard to register. I'm throwing events out here in Asia. Yeah, we go to Tokyo. We have a rabid fan base, but to think that Americans, like we have a fan base. It was very surprising. And what was interesting was 45% of the stadium flew in from other states. That was also very shocking to us. We thought, okay, we get Denver because there's a big Denver martial arts community, but 45% of the ticket buyers were from outside of Colorado.
Your deal with Amazon, what is the length on that? About 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, and we're approaching our first year.
Is there a guaranteed amount of shows per year?
Yes, it's a minimum of 12 shows a year. But I'll just say that Amazon is looking to. Amazon and ONE are in discussions right now as we speak to expand and broaden and deepen the partnership. So knock on wood that if all parties can come to terms, we'll be ramping up aggressive. But either with or without that, we will be ramping up our number of events in the U.S. 2024 and beyond. Like I said, Denver was a starting point. It was day one, and now it will mark when we look back 5 years from now, John. We will look back and say, wow, that was 1993 equivalent. It was a start of one in the U.S.
I wanted to kind of get you out of here on this. This is kind of my last thing, and it's a very positive thing. Is ONE Championships honors Victoria Lee. You guys are starting a scholarship award for her in her name, and yesterday was her birthday, and so I just wanted to let you kind of talk to us about what the scholarship entails and how it all came about, working with her sister and her brother, and what this means to you.
So, I'm I was very close to Victoria. I'm close with Angela and Christian and her parents, Ken and Jules. And I was in in vacation, my first vacation in literally 11, 12 years in Switzerland. And Angela calls me, crying, and letting me know that Victoria passed away. I was in big shock, and was originally going to the funeral, but then they made it a closed door thing because the paparazzi and etc. were making a fuss. And then I went to Hawaii 4 or 5 weeks ago to visit the family and to visit Victoria's resting place. And one thing I'll tell you about the Lee family is they're very, very close, very loving. Four children and the two parents, Ken and Jules, and the love emanating that family was just really, truly extraordinary. It wasn't a normal family that. I'm sure they had their, riffs and rafts, whatever, brothers and sisters, sibling fights, whatever it is. But I'd never seen a family, and even to this day, that has so much love, and family is just really everything for them, right? Truly. So going to Hawaii, it was devastating, and I've known, I first met Victoria at 11 years old. When she first came to Singapore, because her Angela had just signed a one, and that's when I met Victoria, and she was a prodigy back then. She's the best in the family, and when I mean the sweetest, most gentle girl you could imagine, even at 11, and wise beyond her years. Yeah, it's been very hard for the Lee family, and when I went to Hawaii, it really rocked me hard. I mean, I was always very rocked already, but going there, and seeing everything, just it was very tough. But so the last several months since Victoria's passing, we've had multiple discussions. I've had multiple discussions with Angela and her family on how best to honor Victoria. And we came up with kind of three simple things. One is honoring Victoria Lee Day, January 13th of every year. Encouraging our fans and our athletes to do random acts of kindness to strangers or whoever. This is kind of like, Victoria's thing, and do that. And then the second piece is Victoria Lee award for the athlete who contributes most to his or her community. Charitable contribution or time or effort, whatever it is. And the third is scholarships to evolve for any athlete in their teenage years wanting to be a world champion under 18 years old. Just have to write an essay to victoria.lee@evolve-mma.com on why they deserve to have full scholarship, as well as why they want to continue the legacy of Victoria. And so this is just, again, these three things, what the family and I together worked through and arrived so that we could continue her legacy. And again, I'm words don't do it justice. I'm saying it, but it just doesn't do it justice. She was the sweetest, kindest, most humble, gentle soul. And it's just a very, very, and 100% she was going to be a multiple-time world champion in one. There was no question about it. No question. So,
just gone too soon. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Gone way too soon. John, do you have anything else, bud?
No, I just want to say in the end, Chatri, thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for your time, first off. And thank you for, representing the martial arts the way it's supposed to be done. Your organization as a whole really shows out. And I'm saying that through the Muay Thai, the boxing that you've done, the left way, all those things. You really show the martial arts, and it's really appreciated. Congratulations on the success.
No, that thanks a lot. That means a lot coming from you, John. I still remember, those crazy fights in the UFC, and it's kind of surreal for me even to be sitting here talking to you, John, and so big fan of yours, and same thing for Josh. So thank you for the time, guys, and please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you guys in any way. Just ping me anytime.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you
for
so
coming
much. All right, we got to give a big thank you to Chatri for his time there. It is late where he's at, early where we're at, so it took a lot for him to get on, but we appreciate his time. Josh, this is a guy that you actually worked with. You've known for a while. What'd you think of some of the answers? I thought he was very eloquent, especially when it came to the Francis stuff.
I thought he handled it as best he could without, you don't want to say too much because you're hoping that something will come. You're hoping
he kind of talked about maybe he said too much already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might have been it. But look, I think he handled it professionally the way he talked with us about it. Look, at the end of the day, he understood what was best for his promotion. The PFL understood what was best for their promotion. They needed to go that direction. They signed it. They put the money out. It's no different than when you look at NFL teams, basketball teams. That player is worth a lot more to me than maybe that player's worth to the other team down the road that doesn't need that DB or doesn't need that safety. Well, I need that person. So I'm trying to build something in that division. I feel like I've signed some other top talent that are in that division that can help grow my talent and make a name for themselves. So that's what's going to happen. That's what kind of that's why I've said, instead of going through this process of free agency and then everyone talking trash about each other, why don't we just go right to the trading fighters? Then each promotions gets something out of it. I mean, I know I'm beating a dead horse over here, but I think
just a little.
There could have been a moment there where, hey, UFC called them and said, look, we're not getting this deal done. So, and we're going to trade him off to you. And I'm going to get a little bit of something out of him.
They couldn't do that. They didn't have a contract with him.
But they did have a contract with him. His contract was, I'm saying,
they could have done that
Francis,
long ago. Yeah.
They could have done it one fight before.
Yeah.
It's no different than when you have the NFL players, right? They usually have 1 year left on their contract. They realize it's not going in the right direction, or they just don't want to invest in him any further. And they say, okay, look, let's go ahead and trade you off to a team that maybe needs a DB. And then hopefully the relationship that's built that's better over there. And then they can re-sign them. 1 year maybe 1 year win a Super Bowl. Who knows? And now they want to stay. Who knows what the circumstances are? But Francis put himself in a position to open the floodgates for other fighters, which I applaud him very much. I think that now you're going to start to see promoters understand that this is where the direction of the sport is going. It's going to start to become more of, I think, like an NFL. I think they're going to start trading fighters to avoid having this type of conflict. Like, it's bringing a lot of negative energy towards the UFC. Other promotions that are in the sweepstakes of trying to get these fighters, they also get negative blowback. Why not? Let's go ahead and just say, hey, UFC is going to trade for this person, or Bellator is going to trade for this person. One's going to trade for this person, whatever it is. You can end up seeing this happen to avoid all the blowback. And then on top of it going, hey, we knew we couldn't get the deal done. He was asking too much, but this promotion wanted to give it a try. Now he's going to have to fight 1 or 2 fights over there, to honor the contract. You may have no cut clauses or no trade clauses in your contracts, like how they do in the NFL and the NBA and stuff.
All the contracts are going to have to change because there's going to have to be a trade some kind of blurb in there about being traded.
Yeah, but the other thing though too is that, like, that only applies to really to the very best, like the John Joneses and the Yaroslav Amosov, the fighters that are just the best in the game right now. So it only applies to like those type of fighters. Like Conor McGregor says, hey, it can't be traded. John Jones says, I can't be traded. You know what I mean? Like, it's the best fighters in the sport across the board for, from the last, 6, 7 years. They have a little bit more clout. That's all. That's what happens in the NBA. That's what happens in the NFL. Those fighters say, hey, those athletes say, I have a no cut clause unless it's approved by me, though. Also, that's another way of doing it. Yeah. But otherwise, they just don't sign you for as much. And that's the way you got to look at it. I also love what he did with the Victoria Lee Scholarship Award. Good on him. Good on the promotion. I think that's fantastic. And definitely she was gone too young. And I really feel for her family. I saw her sister posted something yesterday, and just as a reminder that it was her birthday, and wishing her a heavenly birthday. And there's a lot of emotion that goes, I think, into anybody for that. And I never met Vicky, but I met her, Angela, and I can just tell you that they seem like they're very close. And in the conversations, she used to talk about her sister. And I was just in passing a couple of times with Angela, and it didn't seem like there was ever a moment where she wasn't talking about her sister, like saying positive things. And so the best to her and her family during this tough time, and wishing her a heavenly birthday. Outside of all of that, I'm interested to see what those other states are that are actually dancing with the devil there. They are.
Ooh.
There are going to be some states that are going to go out there and do it.
Said, don't say a word. Don't say which ones. I'm like, don't.
You gotta let him do it, John.
Finally, when he said, I don't know, this is a good idea. Don't say anything.
John. I could have got it out of him. No, I thought
I want them all to succeed.
Can I ask you a question though? Because you work in depth with a lot of the states. If you were to guess which states would potentially open the floodgates for it, give me like, say, and these obviously they may not happen, but give me one or two states that would potentially do it. I think Florida would potentially do it.
Nah, I'm not too. I think what you're really going to be looking for is which states. You have the Association of Boxing Commissions, which is combative sports boxing and MMA, and there has been a split now for the last 10 years or so, and that's rules of MMA are split and what everything is, and so it's the ones that have kind of stepped away from the ABC. The state like a Missouri has stepped away from the ABC. I could see state of Missouri possibly doing it. You could see someone. I would go and say that New Jersey with Larry Hazard possibly, but Larry Hazard's pretty strict about the unified rules were his, and he's not going to accept knees to the head of a grounded fighter because he was one of the big proponents against it. So I don't see that happening. But the states that are on the fringe outside of the ABC, like Missouri, I can definitely see that one happening.
All right, well, at least we have a little hint on what direction. That's so close to Colorado, though.
Maybe Louisiana also. Could be
there
Louisiana.
There you go. I wouldn't mind doing that.
No.
What about Texas?
No.
I mean, they're already a shit show. Why not allow this?
Well, you're going there, so we're going to see what you're going to do with
the commissions, though.
Take over, baby.
The
commission of Texas and Josh Thompson.
We will see. Hopefully we can build a relationship over there so we can try to help as much as possible, whether it's with the refs, judges, fighters, whatever.
All of it.
Who knows? Well, hey, I want to definitely say how nice it was to have him on, and it was definitely a pleasure to get some conversation with him about what's coming up, maybe potentially in their Amazon deal, working forward through how many shows that they have. He said 12 fights a year on Amazon. Yeah. That's a lot. I mean, will they also be covering the ones that are going on over in in Asia?
Yeah, I doubt it. I think those 12 are ones they could be. Those shows could be from Asia, but it's not going to be. You know how they kind of split up their shows as far as they do have the Muay Thai shows and things like that. It was one thing I forgot to bring up because Chatri is the one that really changed over into doing Muay Thai with MMA gloves, and it's really opened up the sport a lot.
Oh, so much better.
I love it, and it's been a great thing. I love how they came about with it, and I forgot to give him kudos for that because
he didn't really change it. Remember they used to wear like rope with glass on their knuckles before back in the day. But I mean,
dude, when you're talking, he did allow and then he talked about Lethwei and he had it, and it was one of the things that I was I watched from one, but Lethwei has the headbutts and it has all kinds of different attacks and stuff. And you can get knocked out in that sucker and still they'll put you back on your stool and you come back the next round.
Sounds very safe.
Crazy.
Sounds extremely safe.
It's not safe.
Well, hey, that's going to wrap up our show, and we want to thank him for coming on. And it was definitely a great time.
Yeah. For everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you.